Welcome to Rigby's Campfire podcast. Sat here with Martin Levis, who is a long-standing member of the Rigby team, a great friend of mine. We've shot together in Scotland many a time, and also one of the fastest loaders I know on a double gun day, which I'm sure we'll talk about in the podcast. Welcome, Martin, and thank you for sitting down today.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. So Martin, how old are you now, and how long have you been in the gun trade?
So I am now 30. I've been working for Rigby for a bit more than 8 years now, and in the trade for almost 10 years.
10 years. And what is it that you do here for us at Rigby's?
So I'm the head stockmaker for Rigby. So stocking double rifles, folding blocks, and purchasing wood blanks as well.
Which is, I think, was sort of the nickname or the Rigby wood sommelier, which I think is sort of terribly, fabulously French and perfect for what you're doing. You seem to have a real affinity with wood and with walnut. We'd love to hear more about that.
What I really like in the process of building a gun in general, with all the wood part, I think it's working with a natural material. We work with something that's still alive, basically. I find that quite fascinating, to be honest. And the whole journey of purchasing the blank to create the stock and to have the guns like coming together till the very last step when we see the gun in the case fully finished. It's a whole journey that I think is quite fascinating for me. So, yeah, that's.
Well, I think it's. I think I'm trying to think who said this to me years ago. That it's like half the gun, the piece of wood. We think of it as, you're absolutely right. It's this living thing, and it's special in that right. But it's also special in the fact that it is probably over half the gun. When you look at it and you appraise it, and it's something that's so often overlooked. In the build of a rifle, I know that accountants are always looking to cut costs where they can, those sorts of things. That's their job. But you can very quickly completely diminish the whole gun by trying to save €1,000 on a piece of wood. What is it, do you think, about the wood that makes the gun special or the rifle special?
I think for me, maybe because I have a passion for it, they all have different style, a different character as well. And regarding every project are different at Rigby. And I think that's what's fascinating as well. Is selecting a piece of wood and already thinking of what it could be, what it could become as a gun. I think that's great. It's something that drives me a bit, mad sometimes.
No,
just love it.
Good.
So.
That's good. Yeah. And so we use Turkish walnut. I suppose this historically would have been French walnut. And people say to me all the time, what kind of walnut is it? And we call it Turkish. But actually, it's my understanding is any of those surrounding countries, it's kind of just all folded in. It's called Turkish walnut. I'd love to hear a bit more about why we used French walnut, why we don't use French walnut anymore, except for very rarely when we can get it, and the whole history of the Turkish walnut sort of market.
So back in the day, we used mostly French walnuts. The simple fact is we had the quantity of trees in the country. But many wars, especially with England, it's a bit consuming in terms of food. And then we had storm in 1999 that finished basically to kill the trees that we could have used, like now, like 20 years later. So, and then, yes, of course, building ships, building guns for many wars that we had, we kind of overused it. If I must say, and then now we use Turkish walnut because the temperature changed across the world, and it's a very suitable wood because it's aesthetically talking, it's superb, and the strength as well is just there as well. So.
And do you think the French walnut in the future will come back? Is there a program for planting trees? I mean, this will take hundreds of years, right? Some of these trees are hundreds, if not maybe 1,000 years old. They're ancient.
That's the issue. I don't think we in France. I don't think people actually thought about it because the gun trade in France it's kind of dying sadly. So I don't think anyone is kind of motivated or willing to plant more trees and works towards the issue of the lack of quantity of food, sadly, which with some Turkish dealer that we work very closely with, they're already thinking ahead about it, and that's something we value at Rigby. So
No, it's so true, and we talk a lot about conservation and supporting various different projects around the world, right down to our Duggar Boy Award. That we try to be ethical in all areas, and all hunting we support should be ethical and fair chase. And I think it's one of the dirty secrets, if I may say so, of gun making, that this wood is not always traceable of where it's come from. And we try and trace our wood as much as we possibly can. And you're quite often flying out to Turkey, not just at the mill, but seeing where the trees have been taken. These aren't just sort of beautiful trees in a national park, God forbid, that are being cut down. These are part of management plan where trees have fallen over, they've died, those sorts of things. Lightning strikes, I've heard those sorts of things can happen. And also replanting trees. So for each blank we buy, we add a little bit of, well, in fact, there's me telling the story. Why don't you tell the story, man?
yeah, no, you're right. We like every single blank we purchase, we give we give some extra money basically to replant trees. And a couple of trips I've done to Turkey, I've seen like tree plantation, what we call tree nurseries, what actually replants tens of trees per blank brought. So it's huge. It's really, really huge.
And those trees there, I mean, what's the earliest that you could use them on future blanks? I mean,
Sadly, I don't think we're gonna be able to use them. It would be long gone, because some of these trees are 300-400 years old, if not more. So let's not see it as we're gonna use it to build our guns, and maybe I hope so, but it gives like people work, and they obviously work with.
It's all about giving back, isn't it? Which is important. And there's something I find about wood, which you said it earlier, and we say it all the time, but it's the only piece of the gun that was alive. It kind of still is alive. It's a living thing. It's a piece of a living thing, a tree. And if this tree is 500 years old, in 500 years, I'm trying to think, that's like pre-Henry VIII. I mean, that's amazing that the things that this tree may have witnessed going on around it in its life, and they seem to all tell a story. And maybe that's what it is that sort of draws people to it. There's like a soul, I suppose, to these things.
And it's something we spend a lot of time working on it. Obviously, the carving, the inlating of the parts, the shaping, the oiling. But we don't do more than that. So we don't transform the material by any heat treatment, or it we literally carve off something natural. That's it. Which I think gives a bit of like a magic touch to the gun, and something like as you say, like a soul to the gun.
I agree, and I always love the part of a gun sale or a gun build where you sit down with the client and they choose their wood. I think that's it's almost like a ceremonial part of the gun making process for a customer. And quite often you can see it in the eyes of the client as he's looking. Which blank he's going to go for, and there's something about that wood speaks to him. Something that's sometimes beyond just the aesthetics. There's something about it that speaks to his soul. These pieces of wood we've got here, I'd be interested for you to show us, and the people watching this and listening, what is it you're looking for as a stock maker? Because I might look at a piece and I just want something really fabulous and fancy, but that may not be the strongest. And as you know, and everyone listening will know, Rigby's is all about fit for purpose, made to be used. These are not just safe queens. So yeah, tell us a bit about that.
So something we never compromise on is the strength of the wood, the blanks itself. Because as we say, we build our guns for a purpose. They're meant to be used, and they're going to be used. So the most important is through the grip. Always check that the grain is straight and there is no weaknesses in that. Because that's where the action is going to be. It's going to be fitted on the blank, which basically, once the stock is all carved, it's a very weak part of the stock. So we need to be very careful that the grain is straight, and obviously the wood dry as well. So once all these requirements are there, I will say we look at the aesthetic of the wood itself. So the color, the natural color, because we don't stain the wood with any alcohol stains, or it's just purely natural. and the shape of the grain. So as you can see, on these two blanks are very different in terms of style. They are the same grade, but at the end of the day, it's a very personal thing. You love it or you don't, or
The question I keep asking, Martin, is I think these are now spoken for by a customer.
they are.
They are. Where were these when I was choosing some wood for myself? Every time I come and maybe build myself a Rigby, I get some sort of wood that looks, very plain, and
They were hidden.
they're hidden away, because this one is absolutely spectacular.
Stunning. So that's an example of French walnuts that we don't see much these days, sadly, and more the time will go, we'll see a lot less of them.
And not only is it beautiful, it's exceptionally rare.
It is. I haven't seen many of these quality in my life.
And how is the other side there as well, just to show everyone that it's equally beautiful on the other side there.
Yeah, something we need to look at as well when we purchase a blank. It needs to be as fancy on one side as another, as obviously the stock's going to be rounded. You don't want to end up with.
And I see here you've got this very dark figured piece here, and then there's this much lighter wood on the bottom edge.
Yeah.
What is that?
We kind of call it like softwood. It's nothing bad. It's not a disease for the tree or anything. It's just a part of the tree that just the grain is somehow didn't grow. We can almost put our nail through it. But once the template obviously is gonna be slightly higher, it's not gonna show. It's not gonna be any issue on the final product.
Okay, no, fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts. So the other thing that we've been working on here is referring back to that sommelier title we've sort of unofficially given you, is Rigby's sort of wood cellar, for want of a better word. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, the thing is, as we talked about, the wood is getting more rare. That's a fact. And so we try to give the opportunity to our clients to invest in some wood blanks for their future projects. Because sadly, when it's something natural like that, we can't control it. There is a certain amount of blanks in the world now, and we can't, create them more. So yes, we just wanted to give an opportunity to our clients to purchase and invest in some wood blanks now for their future project in the coming years.
And those blanks can be used, of course, at Rigby's, but as we discussed with a customer a few weeks ago, that those blanks could also, be sent somewhere else. They may have a project with another gun makers, and they can draw wood from their cellar here.
Yeah, we just basically are guardians of their collection, looking after them, obviously in a controlled humidity and temperature room. But if it's their property at the end, so we are like a bank, I would say, and if they want to take it wherever they want, then that's not a problem for us.
No, fantastic. Any advice that you would give to young people listening to this who want to be a stock maker, or all the things that you've talked about today, getting involved in the wood aspect of gun making? Any advice you give for them?
In general, I would say just follow your dreams. If it's something you really want to do, or just do it.
No, absolutely. And talking about following dreams, we've had many adventures up in Scotland. You come up every year to our house, and we shoot grouse on the Glorious 12th, which has started off. Olivier actually mentioned this earlier. This started off, was it 8 years ago, 7 years ago?
It was 7 years ago now.
7 years ago, yeah. It's of course my eldest daughter was born, and it was just you, Olivier, Katie, my wife, Rose, our daughter, and myself, and then we had this little day. I think we shot 5 brace or something.
It was like 5-6 brace.
Yeah, and it was just the best, wasn't it? And we had that little dinner there, and now how it's sort of evolved into this quite a big thing with a black tie dinner, and
it's like a big bond now. It's a big family. It's a very nice vibe.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, very blessed to get invited on a few good shoot days here and there, and shooting double guns, which is always a privilege. And I've learned over the years that shooting is all about people. It's about spending time with people you care about, and you're on the peg there. And it's not just about firing the gun. It's about being with people, and an experience shared is an experience doubled or tripled, in my opinion. And many a day I've had sort of not ruined, because any day out is a special day, but diminished perhaps a little bit when you've got some grumpy loader, old guys, normally commenting on my crap shooting and you know, not really enjoying it. I've learned now to I often take you, Martin, if on those times I'm able to go, and we always have a good laugh on the peg and jokes, and I never met anyone who can load a shotgun as fast as you. So there's, you know, you can load faster than I can shoot, and you know, God forbid, touch wood, if anything goes wrong with the guns, so, you know, having a gun maker on hand. In fact, that's happened more than once, I think, where you've, I think our host a couple of years ago had a problem and you took his gun apart. It wasn't a Rigby, may I just say, and you fixed it for him in the bothy on Grousemoor, which was amazing.
I remember that day. I remember.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Martin, I'm going to let you go back to your wood and making guns next door, and
Will do.
cheers.
Thank you very much.